Hello, dear brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining our Mother and Refuge of the End Times. We would like to share with you part 3 of Professor Daniel O'Connor's blog post dated March 14, 2022, entitled Warning 2022, on his website, ddso'connor.com. The article reads, Point 4. The Synod on Synodality and the Great Apostasy. First, a few quotes. Our Lady to Blessed Elena Aiello said, Rome will be punished according to justice for its many and serious sins, because here sin has reached its peak. From St. Malachi's famous prophecy of popes, Rome will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. From the Revelations of La Salette, Rome will lose the faith and become the seat of Antichrist. From Jesus to Luisa Picaretta on October 30th, 1899. Poor Rome, how you will be destroyed. In looking at you, I cry over you. The river of iniquities is so great as to reach the point of preventing the redemption of souls. With every passing week, new indications seem to arise that this ongoing synod on synodality will become nothing other than the context for the great apostasy to reach its climax. Here, more than anywhere else, we also see the fulfillment of Akita's prophecy of, quote, cardinals opposing cardinals, bishops opposing bishops. Indeed, throughout church history, bishops have been wary of calling out other bishops. You know the times are grave when we see this happening at all, but we have never seen it happen to such an extreme extent as today. See the prophecy below with my comments inserted within brackets. Quote, if men do not repent and better themselves, my note, obviously they have not done so, therefore what follows must happen, the Father will inflict a terrible punishment on all humanity. It will be a punishment greater than the deluge, such as no one has ever seen before. Fire will fall from the sky and will wipe out a great part of humanity, the good as well as the bad, sparing neither priests nor faithful. My note, this could refer to nuclear war and to a divine chastisement of cosmic origin, more on the order of Sodom and Gomorrah, though on a much larger scale. Quote, the survivors will find themselves so desolate that they will envy the dead. The only arms which will remain for you will be the rosary and the sign left by my son. Each day recite the prayers of the rosary. With the rosary, pray for the Pope, the bishops and priests. The work of the devil will infiltrate even into the church in such a way that one will see, and I would add, it will actually be publicly reported on, unlike the quieter behind-the-scenes opposition of earlier days, cardinals opposing cardinals, bishops against bishops. The priests who venerate me will be scorned and opposed by their confreres. Churches and altars sacked, the church will be full of those who accept compromises, and the demon will press many priests and consecrated souls to leave the service of the Lord. End quote. This quote was taken from the Message of Our Lady of Akita, October 13, 1973, an approved apparition. If what we are now seeing isn't the fulfillment of the hierarchy's civil war prophesied above, then what would the fulfillment look like? Ponder that carefully, and you'll only have painted a picture that resembles 2022. While the dangers of this synodality can be seen across the globe, they are particularly acute in Germany's synodal way. A Catholic news agency article dated March 10, 2022 reads, Nordic Catholic bishops issued an open letter on Wednesday expressing alarm at the direction of the German synodal way. In the March 9th letter, they cautioned against, quote, capitulation to the zeitgeist and, quote, impoverishment of the content of our faith, reported CNA Deutsch, CNA's German-language news partner. The Nordic bishops published their letter after Synodal Way participants voted in favor of draft texts calling for the abolition of priestly celibacy in the Latin Church, the ordination of women priests, same-sex blessings, and changes to Catholic teaching on homosexuality. A brief primer on the levels of sin we are dealing with here. Heresy is only material when one holds some error on the faith, but does not do so willingly and explicitly. He is ignorant. Heresy becomes worse, formal, when despite the fact that this person has been shown his error, he still clings to his heretical views. But apostasy is an entirely new level of evil. Apostasy results not only when one is a formal heretic, denying some articles of the faith, but sinks still lower to the point where he denies the faith itself. This, I wager, is precisely what one does when he bluntly claims that infallible Catholic Church teaching as such is false. This also is precisely what we now see cardinals doing publicly within the context of the Synod on Synodality. A headline from Catholic World News on February 3, 2022 reads, "Key Synod Cardinal, Catholic teaching on homosexuality is false." Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich of Luxembourg, who has been appointed Relator General of the concluding meeting of the Synod of Bishops in October 2023, has called for a revision of Catholic teaching on homosexuality. Edward Penton, in a tweet, quoted him as saying, "I think it's time we make a fundamental revision of the doctrine," said Cardinal Hollerich, but he didn't elaborate on what aspects of the teaching he felt needed revision, says Reuters. Cardinal Hollerich is Relator General of the current Synod on Synodality. Thanks be to God, we have shepherds left who are upholding Catholic orthodoxy and are publicly rebuking these apostate prelates. But these faithful shepherds seem to be the minority, or at least, among those willing to publicly speak up, are in the minority. And soon they will be heavily persecuted. Pray for them and stay close to them. In a March 11, 2022 article in the National Catholic Register, Edward Penton wrote, quote, "The synodal way of the Church in Germany is on the wrong track that is lost in nothingness, rooted in the heresy of modernism that theologians have yet to properly address, and is destined to fail," Cardinal Walter Brandmüller has said. In a commentary published March 3rd on the German-speaking website cath.net, entitled Quo Vadis Germania? Where are you going, Germany? The German church historian said the synodal way was making, quote, "sensational demands that clearly contradict the authentic Catholic faith, the Church's hierarchical sacramental constitution and her binding moral teaching." In a March 12th tweet, Bishop Strickland wrote, "Thank you, Your Eminence. We need a chorus of leaders who love Jesus Christ and His Church to loudly denounce these false teachings. Jesus leads us to everlasting life. False teachings lead us to eternal damnation. Thanks for speaking truth." Consider that although we do have faithful shepherds speaking out, this noble task is usually undertaken only by the ones who have either little power in the grand scheme of Vatican's shenanigans, or who have recently been deprived of their power. For example, Cardinal Mueller, Cardinal Burke, Cardinal Sarah, etc. Precisely those shepherds who, as Our Lady foretold at Akita, are devoted to her and accordingly would be scorned and opposed. A headline in LifeSite News reads, "Pro-LGBT Archbishop of Malta orders priests to refrain from hurtful comments about homosexuals." A June 11, 2021 article on LifeSite News reads, "U.S. Bishop tries to oust yet another faithful priest in what appears to be a pattern." A headline in the National Catholic Register reads, "Puerto Rican bishop removed by Pope feels blessed to suffer persecution." In another National Catholic Register headline, "Burlington bishop removes pastor for disobedience over COVID-19 directives." And in Church Militant, "Cardinal pushing paganism curbs the Latin Mass." Just as the prophecies have long warned, faithfulness to Catholic teaching is being silenced, and those who proclaim it are being persecuted, not only by the secular world, by the ostensible members of the Church. On the other hand, we have an open apostate, Cardinal Hollerich, being given the very highest position possible under the Pope himself in the proceedings of the Synod on Synodality within the context of its final assembly next year. If this doesn't incline your mind toward apocalyptic considerations, then your mind isn't functioning. Moreover, Cardinal Hollerich is the president of the Commission of the Bishops' Conferences of the European Union, even aside from his capacity of the Relator General of the present Synod. He holds an extremely high position. And how fitting that he is a prelate from what is by far the richest country in the world per capita, Luxembourg. As I wrote last year, this synod will likely simply follow the money, which means following the heresy of richest national church, Germany, and its blasphemous synodal path. What does this all have to do with the warning? As with the other items, there are two dimensions to that question: prophecy and common sense. Common sense, the warning will be a divine correction like never seen before in history. It would make sense for it to arrive precisely when it is most needed, precisely when sin, error, heresy, blasphemy, idolatry, and apostasy have reached the very heights within the Church that divine providence could possibly allow them to reach. It seems that precisely that summiting will soon transpire during the proceedings of the Synod on Synodality. Prophecy? Recall, as I wrote last year, from a YouTube video interview with Mother Nieves Garcia. Interviewer: Mother Nieves Garcia, you have some information about the prophecy from Garabandal regarding the synod that will precede the warning. Can you tell us more about that? Mother Nieves Garcia: Yes, during the apparitions, the Virgin told Conchita that before the future events occur, a synod will take place, an important synod. Then Conchita told the story to her aunt. The aunt asked her, "Do you refer to council?" Because that was the time of the Second Vatican Council. Conchita told her aunt, "No, the Virgin didn't say council, she said synod. And I think synod is a small council. It is impossible for a 12-year-old without any knowledge and culture to talk about synod that didn't exist, and we didn't know at that time." End quote. While it may be that the warning will not happen until or immediately after the scheduled conclusion of this Synod 2023, I'd caution against assuming that it cannot happen earlier. It may well be that with the warning, God Himself will intervene in this Synod and save it from the apostasy it is now directed towards. The prophecy only indicates that the Synod will precede the warning, and since the Synod has already been ongoing for more than a year, there is no reason to suppose it must entirely finish before the warning comes. Brothers and sisters, please join me again for part 4 of this article. May God bless you and keep you.